Well, it's quite cold this morning here in a beautiful Ensenada, Playa de Chapultepec at the beach. You've all heard about being at the beach, how lovely it is to live there during the winter. Well, yeah, it's 42 degrees, and even though I have a house that's insulated, etc., it's cold. But that's not why I'm talking to you this morning. Yesterday, I went to had to go to the government building to see about my taxes, my property taxes. And, going to the government building in Mexico or really almost any, if you have to go get your electricity turned on or what, but the government building is up there with, compared to going to the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles in the United States, on steroids. Okay? Because there's one thing that's very interesting about Mexico is that they never answer questions you haven't asked. So, like if you go to the DMV and you say, I want to get a driver's license, they give you a little booklet. Rules and regulations, a little booklet for you can study. They don't do that here. Yeah, they don't do that here. You don't want a driver's license, they say, okay, first you have to take this. There's no booklets and no instructions. That is also true about wanting to pay your property taxes. So I'd actually try to have a American friend who is Mexico. He was a dreamer. He was born here, and his parents brought him over to the States when he was like 2, and he didn't find out till he was around 48 that he wasn't a citizen because he had a Social Security card. He said, "Oh, I'm a citizen." No, he worked in computers. There was a raid, and he and whoever else didn't have ID were sent across the border. Fortunately for him, he did speak Spanish. He does speak Spanish, but it was a big surprise to him that he wasn't American. And it's a great change in his life and the life of his wife. Anyway, they've been managing pretty well here. They've adapted. That's what you do in life, you know? You adapt or you die. So they're and one of the things they do is they will help somebody like me out whose Spanish is limited. I can get along, but I can't go to a government building and negotiate language like words I've never heard and which don't translate. By the way, castral, clave castral does not translate. So anyway, we had tried online, but that failed. And finally, I said, okay, let's put this in, put that. We couldn't do it. So he said very kindly, well, I'll stop by. Tomorrow I'm going that way anyway. I'll stop by and ask. I went, oh my God, okay, thank you. Because I've been to the government office before. I knew what he was in for. And so he did go, and about 10:30 in the morning, I got a phone call. He actually said he was on his way about 8:30, so at 10:30, so 2 hours later, uh, he called and he said, oh, you're not listed because I'd given him an electric bill. Say, here's my name and address. See if you can find out what my tax bill is. He said, they don't have you here. You're not listed. I said, okay. Well, that didn't really surprise me in a certain way. And he said, and they want 700 pesos, which is equivalent to about $35, to look up, who is listed. And I said, you don't have to do that. I know who's listed. It's the people I bought the property from. And he said, oh, okay. And he repeated this in Spanish to the guy he was talking to. And the guy said, oh, well, she has to bring in her paperwork. I said, oh. I said, okay, come on over. He wasn't far away from me. And I'll bring you my paperwork and we'll go in and do this. And I should back up a little bit. I just got my paperwork a week ago. I bought the property on August 19th. I got the official documents on January, I think it was 7th or 8th. And here's why. They don't answer questions you didn't ask. I assumed somebody would notify me, send me an email when they had the documents, but they didn't. So in January, the beginning of January, when I knew I could pay my taxes, you pay your taxes January, February, March. If you pay in January, you get a 10% discount. You pay in February, you get 7%, and if you pay in March, you get, I don't know what percent. So I hadn't received my paperwork, and I was going to check my email. So I decided I'm going to write to them and say, have you received the paperwork because I need it for my taxes? And lo and behold, of course they had. God knows when. So I went over and picked up paperwork. So now I have my paperwork, all the official stamps, because in Mexico, every single legal document has to go to the city of Mexico, which is the government seat, to be stamped and official. So it's not like in the United States, you live in Nebraska and you buy a piece of property in Nebraska, and the state of Nebraska knows this. No. Nobody in the state of Ensenada knew that I had purchased this property. It was still in the other person's name. Okay, so we go there, and now there's lines. Oh my God, there's lines, they're everything. You have to keep lining up for everything. But we find this out. I hand them my paperwork, and they say, oh, you have to make a copy of this document, which was 60 pages, both sides. So we did. And also, I asked my friend, who please ask in Spanish, can we have the information of the taxes of the person whose name is on the property? And we did. And we were able to find that out. We made the copy, and we came back. And this had taken us almost an hour, because I was now with the wife of my friend who was parking the car, who hadn't parked the car yet. It's a huge city block. They couldn't run a space because there's so many cars there. I mean, it's just... Anyway, I found out what the taxes were of the person before me, who had owned it before me, what they would be coming, because we pay a year in advance. So we found that out. We give the paperwork. We come back. We pay another, I don't know, the equivalent of about $20. They give us a piece of paper with a stamp on it. We hand that piece of paper to another cashier or person, in a booth, and then they say, "Come back in 5 days." Well, I'm just happy to get out of here. I go, oh, okay, thank you. So I tell this story to my friend, who's I've talked to her about her before, but I'm not going to name her here because for reasons you'll understand. I say, oh, and the taxes last year on the property were like 4,200 pesos. She said, whoa, that seemed a lot. That's about $210, okay, for the year. I said, I don't really think so. That's what I was paying a month in the United States on my property. In fact, I was paying more because I had a homeowners association. I paid an extra $300 a month. So I was paying $500 a month. I said, I don't really think so. She said, well, do you have a senior card? I said, no, I don't have a senior card. She said, well, I have a senior card. This is a friend who makes 6 figures a year and drives a Jaguar, a new one. She said, I have a senior card. I said, yeah, I understand. She said, well, I said, but it's not worth it to me to go over across town, sit outside and wait in the line, make the paperwork, and all this. They're going to give me a 10% discount. She said, well, you get a 50% discount if you go. And here is what Mexicans are most afraid of. I have never met a Mexican who was less afraid of dying than they were of having paid too much for something. That's their major fear. If you talk to a Mexican and you say, they always ask you, well, how much did you pay for that? Well, whoa. Wow, you pay too much. Because I'm an American, they go like, oh, foreigners, you always pay too much. You pay too much. But that's probably true. I do pay a premium. They think all Americans are rich. He's like, oh, we're all floating in money. And I said to her, I want to tell you something about money. You can't buy time. You can't buy time. And I'm 84, going to be 85 if I'm lucky. And I'm telling you that I am not going to spend 20 minutes or an hour and gasoline and drive across town and wait outside to save $100 for a year. Okay? I'm not going to do that. She said, no. They are more afraid of. They will always ask what's something, and they will tell you. If you say, oh, I see that, and I do that too, by the way. You see the sweater I'm wearing? I pay 200 pesos for it. It's $10. It's wool, and it's cashmere, and it's used, and it's from the famous place. You can't find sweaters like this for less than $200 anywhere, even at Nordy's, because I've tried. So, the worst fear Mexicans have, they fear paying too much for something.